Okay, we're live. How's things, Nathan?
Hello. All good, Sean. How are you?
Aye, not too bad. I suppose we're just going to pretend like we haven't been speaking for about 10, 15 minutes there, you know?
Well, that's it.
It's
This
all,
is all new.
this is all smoke and mirrors like of it all. But,
Tell me this: did you watch any of the All Ireland quarterfinals this weekend, or
no,
keep track of them even?
no, I didn't even keep track of them, to be honest. I know a friend of mine mentioned Kerry were playing, I think, so.
Uh, Kerry were playing Tyrone yesterday, and it's sort of funny because obviously there's the geographical rivalry for both of us with
Hmm.
Tyrone, but ultimately you have to go your own county and then you have to go your own province. So I'm
That's
always
true,
going to
yeah.
support the Ulster team, like. But I Kerry popped them to it, like. But it was a bit of a real battle like for them. And then today, Galway and Dublin there had a massive battle. So I think what Dublin won there, and sadly no Ulster teams through. Louth beat Monaghan, which in fairness, I guess their first, I think, uh, semi final now of an All Ireland since like the 1950s or something. So fair play to Louth, like.
Oh, 100%, aye, and aye, a smaller county by all means. So, what's that leave it? Kerry,
Kerry,
Dublin, and
Kerry,
Louth?
Dublin, Louth, and Mayo beat Cork.
Okay, so would Kerry be the favourites, would you say?
Like, I think everyone seems to think, even in that sort of playoff match between, um, or not even so much the playoff, but I think whenever the first match of the championship, whenever Donegal were playing Kerry, I think a lot of people were saying, "Well, be one of these two teams that's going to win it."
Yeah,
Obviously, Donegal won that one, but I think Kerry are probably primed. But you hope that smaller counties can do it, and like I would have liked to see Cork beat Mayo as well, but wouldn't it be just a fairy tale of Louth one?
aye.
Like what's the population of County Louth? I'd say you're talking less than 80,000. Like I
You
think the two
think?
big population centres are Drogheda and Dundalk,
Yeah,
and then there's RD and places like that. But I think you're talking less than 80,000 for the population of Louth, maybe 100,000. Like
150,000.
150. Gee, that's surprising.
It's probably a lot of those are like. How many of those are like commuters? People that are just like they're literally just living in life, like, but 90% of their time's in Dublin. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So Drogheda is about 44,000, and Dundalk's 43,000 as well. So, but still, like, it'd be a major, major achievement for them. Like, but we'll see. We'll see. It remains to be seen. So listen,
are you ready to strap in for a long episode? Considering
I
we've
know.
got a SmackDown review and Night of Champions review.
Well, this is it. Like, so I have my notes here for both SmackDown and Night of Champions. I think we both sort of just talked briefly that we thought there was more to go on in SmackDown, but the biggest talking points to me of this weekend, and tell me if you or disagree, but we've got Sami Zayn. He is the WWE World Champion, which to me was a big, big shock. Tiffany versus Jade. I think there's a lot for us to sort of delve into in that regard. I have some stuff with Trick Williams. I think a major, major talking point from this weekend was the MFT have essentially dissembled and broken up. And then Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker was also a major talking point today. So I suppose going from there, why don't we just go into a little bit about SmackDown?
Yeah.
So, what did you think of the show?
I enjoyed it, like, and I think particularly for sometimes those go home shows can flatly deceive in the sense that sort of keeping cards close to their chest so that nothing's spoiled for the next night, of the PLE. But no, I thought a lot. Thought there was a lot that was going on and a lot of developments that led directly into Night of Champions, and also some sort of fantastic pieces of comedy and humor throughout, which I'm sure we'll get into. Um, I think uh, even though she won, I think I'm on the verge of a Tiffany rant, but we'll get to that, I'm sure, at some point. But just a special mention. What about that R Truth and Damien Priest segment? whenever he started speaking with the Mexican accent, like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, I remember. You know, what, I didn't take my notes on that segment, but I do remember that. Like, as you say, like the comedy was so superb. But R-Truth, listen, he's anything you give this guy, and he's smashing it out of the park. Like, do you know what I mean? Which is a shame. I almost think that sometimes I did have that thought over the weekend about he could take on a different persona. And I think he would be superb with it as well. But it was a good promo for that. So they're obviously teeing up that War Raiders versus Damian Priest and R-Truth. How do you feel
Mhm.
about that?
I'm probably more invested in the promos like
Yeah.
than anything that's going on. But it's interesting you bring up the art, the art with stuff and the different persona because, of course, I think we all remember last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Remember whenever he cut the braid and he had that promo on top of the table
Yeah.
on Raw, and the crowd were just lapping it up, and you had the whole. Uh, I remember reading multiple comments of people saying things like, Uh, truth is dead, let the killing begin,
Yeah.
non
Yeah.
killing. And everyone thought there was going to be this really age to the character. And I suppose it opens up a wider discussion of, do you think that as a performer, if you're good at delivering humor,
Mm-hmm.
it actually inhibits management from seeing you as a real dominant force? Because another person that's really sort of, I suppose, been guilty of that, or being a victim, not guilty, but being a victim of that is Chelsea Green.
Yeah.
Like she's so superbly comedic. And then on that segment in SmackDown this week, I was actually looking. She looked taller than Jade.
Mm.
Like I think she's height wise she's
She
taller than
probably
Jade.
is.
Jade, and she didn't even she didn't look that physically diminished in comparison to
Yeah.
Jade. Like she's a big girl and she's tall and she's strong, but because she's so good at the comedy, it seems like they'll never see her as anything more than that. And you look at R-Truth. So I know it's a bit of a tangent, but what would be your thoughts on that? Do you think that if a performer is good at comedy, excluding The Rock, of course, do you think that actually inhibits their ability to be seen as like a dominant force, to be feared? Can you mix the two, comedy and fear?
Well, I think like you've made a good point there. I think we've seen that with Chelsea Green, R-Truth, even somebody like The Miz. I think has fallen victim of that. To me, he could have been the guy. Like he could have been the biggest heel the company has seen in the last 20 years, but he always sort of fell into those comedy skits. Look at Kurt Angle, for example. He was never really able to maintain like a comedic role and then be a real threat to the main event as well. And probably his most one of his more successful gimmicks was this wrestle machine, and that's when really he got these runs as the world champ. So I would say there is something to that. I say Chelsea Green's a big one. Like we spoke about this before in the past, that it seems that she's stuck in that sort of role, but I think it's starting. It will wear off the value in that. Now I think just again to go back, because I think this could be a good place to get into it. So on SmackDown we had obviously Chelsea ran in with to support Tiffany after she had been attacked by Jade and B-Fab and Meechin, who got the win on Tiffany and Bliss. Now, I thought it was brilliant with Chelsea, and I suppose this is me countering the point about her being taken serious, but when she's came in with a kendo stick, like that was so good, and the way that she pulled that off, it just looked superb. It was just such perfect comedic timing and delivery. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really, really good. Now, I know you're sort of chomping at the bit here to go off in a Tiffany rant. I don't know if this is going to be the one that puts a domino in effect, but she took the loss. Like I know there were shenanigans from Jade, but like BFAB pinned Tiffany Stratton, and like to me, Meechin and BFAB, They're good. They're good as sort of henchwomen, if that's what you want to, or sidekicks to Jade. But they really still shouldn't be seen as legitimate threats. And obviously, Tiffany got the win then at Night of Champions. But this was damaging, like, to me. I thought this was really bad that she took the loss here, and to me, it was nonsensical. Um, and yeah, I think it really hurt her. And to me, it's a real reflection of how they see her. Now, again, maybe I'm counteracting the fact that she won, but ultimately, Jade. Well, I know I probably picked her to win, but it seems that they're going with the Charlotte Jade feud.
Mm.
But Tiffany still didn't get a clean win over Jade, and
Mm.
I think it's. I don't know. I still think it's not ideal how they've booked all this. But yeah, what's your thoughts on all that?
I suppose the thing trying to keep as sort of balanced as I can about it, it seems to me now that the Tiffany Jade match there was purely a one off. It was just a placeholder. Um, Probably forcing their hand as a result of what happened with Rhea and the injury and all of that. And if that's the case, that's fine, you know. And if they want the Charlotte match to be the match at SummerSlam, that's sort of fine. I suppose the thing that gets me is the lack of consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice this backstage segment at the start of SmackDown where Alexa was being interviewed and then Tiffany comes in? Um, and, you know, Jackie Redmond was asking Alexa about how does she feel about Charlotte's injury and give us an update and all the rest of it. And there's one point in it where Alexa, and at this point the camera's just on Alexa and Jackie Redmond, and Alexa says, you know, and I'm even willing to team with you. And then the camera pans out and Tiffany's there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the impression there, or the implication there is that she doesn't like Tiffany. And she said, you know, look, I know you and Charlotte have history, but we need to work together. And all that was in my head was like, has this girl done something that like management hate her? Like,
Aye.
because this is absolutely diametrically opposed to how Alexa behaved between Charlotte and Rhea. Alexa was like constantly saying to Charlotte, no, you gotta trust her, you gotta trust Rhea, we're trying to work together, we have to come together. And her thing to Tiffany was like, I'm even willing to tag with you. And
Mm.
it's like, Tiffany hasn't actually done anything to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Alexa wasn't even attached to Charlotte whenever Tiffany and Charlotte were having this feud. So it's just the lack of consistency that a few weeks ago, Alexa was basically doing her best Switzerland impersonation, trying to, you know, meld Charlotte and Rhea together and talk about how they have a common goal and blah blah blah. And then for her to have this sort of snarky remark to Tiffany, I just don't get it. Like I
Yeah.
just don't get it. Um, and then after all that, then for Charlotte to help Tiffany beat Jade the next night, um, it there's it just seems from a narrative point of view incoherent. In terms of the, I suppose we'll get into the match later when we get into Night of Champions itself. But as you said, I think if anyone, it is damaging because I think if anyone were to tell you in January when Tiffany Stratton returned at the Royal Rumble that she would be taking a loss to BFAB,
Yeah.
I think you'd be absolutely shocked. Um, my only hope in this, because I think you know how big of a fan I am of her, like of Tiffany, and I think that my only hope is that she's still very over. The crowd really like her, um, and I think that them treating her this way is could, in a way, it could lead to the crowd just having complete disinterest in her and not taking her seriously. But the alternative is it could lead to the crowd just you know, nearly rallying behind her even more. So it remains to be seen what will happen in that regard. But I just, like, maybe I'm wrong, and please tell me if I'm being delusional. But I just thought this was, from a narrative point of view, incoherent for Alexa to react with sort of such passive aggression towards
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany. Whenever only weeks before she was trying to be peacemaker between Rhea and Charlotte.
Yeah. It's that inconsistency that you're talking about, I suppose, is a really fair point. To be honest, like we spoke about this before, but something's going on here. Like I don't know if it goes back to the infamous angle with her and Flair when she cut that promo, or has something else gone on since. But there's something going on. It's constant that Tiffany needs his help and support. She got it then in the match, which I thought was a very good match. I think we saw a lot of Tiffany's athleticism, I think, and sort of quality really stood out. I think she worked well with Jade. I think Jade plays her role very, very well. Probably not
Mm.
as fluid or as easy on the eye in terms of in ring stuff as Tiffany, in terms of sequencing moves and so on. But I think Jade's very good, and I think this seems like a really, really good feud. And we've seen it before. Before Jade obviously squashed Tiffany, and Tiffany went off TV for quite a number of time. But I do think there is a legit rivalry there. But Tiffany can't get the clean win over Jade, which I think is a big, big issue. Something seems to be going on. I don't think you're exaggerating by any means, or your claims are unfound in terms of this inconsistency. But I don't know. It just seems it. We spoke about it before. It's very, very peculiar how this girl was the. To me, she was superstar of the year. I think she wasn't given many good angles, but she made the best of what she was given. I had her superstar of the year for 2025, and now that they've just essentially pulled the rug from underneath her, and they just don't seem to have the same level of belief in her, which is really, really peculiar and really strange. Um,
Can I ask you actually a question just on this? Like, you know, no, you referenced the promo actually that Tiffany had with Charlotte last year, the sort of infamous one that we all know, where she referenced sort of Charlotte's personal life. Um, like we've spoken about this a lot, but not necessarily on here. Like, you know, do you think she's justified in that? Like looking back, do you think if that is the reason that they're in a way punishing her now in the way they're booking her and making her look so weak? Lest we forget she lost to Julia as well since she's
mhm.
come back. Um, do you think Tiffany was justified in that moment to say what she said about Charlotte? Like,
Again, we have speculated. Probably listen. Was it unprofessional? Yes. Someone's obviously had a word with her, and she feels that she's needed to sort of really dig her heels in and sort of stand up for herself, which I don't think she should apologise for that by many means, but it seems it would be no coincidence to me that there's been a change ever since, and she has. It seems that she's been punished as a result.
but the thing that this doesn't seem consistent with me is she then beat Charlotte at WrestleMania.
Well, that's true.
It's like this booking of her only seemed to happen when she returned because even when Jade squashed her, like, do you remember moments before that match? There was a segment where she was backstage hobbling around and all this with her knee brace. Did she have a knee brace? I don't know. But an injury to her knee. And, she said, no, I'm going to go out there. They definitely could have sort of spun that in such a way that Jade squashed her, absolutely, but Tiffany's not fully fit. And then you restart the feud again. But it seems to be since she came back, they're doing that now. I don't know if you want my 2 cents on it because I know we're running over a bit, like, but and then I have just one thing to mention on her gear, which I thought was interesting, which I think you'll enjoy. But do you want me to do that now, or should we just move on?
No, go ahead.
I think to me, right, the comment she made to Charlotte is, I know it is beyond the pale, right, because she's bringing in the personal life and not the character, right, of Charlotte Flair. But equally, I think something that we need to acknowledge is that a few weeks previous, might have even been in the previous week, do you remember in the build to that WrestleMania match, you had this split screen interview
Yeah, that's
between
right.
Charlotte and
That's
Tiffany,
right.
and Cole was Michael Cole was comparing it in a way. But, like, do you remember at the end of that, first of all, Charlotte absolutely bodied her, like,
Yeah,
in the
that's right.
interview. right? Which you can say is fair enough, right? The thing to me that was out of line was she made a comment, and I can't remember the exact words now, but she made a comment about sort of Tiffany's voice, and how
Mm.
high pitched it was, and like she talked about how squeaky her voice was,
She was
and
mimicking it.
to me that, and she was mimicking it, yeah. To me, that's highly unprofessional.
Mm.
I think sort of like whenever you're trading those insults in character, everything is on the table except for the stuff that you have no control over.
Yeah.
Like you have no control over your height, you have no control over, I don't know, your eye color, you have no control over your voice, really. Um, so I thought that was highly unprofessional by Charlotte. So a lot of people talk about Tiffany being out of line on what she said, but I think Charlotte was completely out of line the previous week, making a joke of Tiffany's voice in the way that she did, because it's not making Charlotte look better, and it's certainly not making Tiffany look better. So I think you know what I mean. Like I think they're wrong on both sides. But the thing I said that the thing I was going to say that I think you would enjoy is, did you notice Tiffany's gear on SmackDown? The arms sleeves had these like flames up the side of them that nearly looked Eddie Guerrero-esque. Did you notice this?
I don't even notice this now.
Yeah. It might. You know what? I don't know. Maybe she's worn this before. I don't know. But just on her arms, she had this sort of material, and the design on it had these flames that were sort of were just reminding me of Eddie Guerrero, like
I thought you were going to say jellyfish or something like that. That is what she should
We
do,
have
though.
we have
Like,
we have to acknowledge that now. Like we have to
well,
acknowledge that on there.
to give more context, so there. For those who don't know, there was a promo a couple of must be months ago now where um, Asuka and Kairi Sane had confronted Tiffany, and there had been a bit of verbal back and forth between Tiffany and Asuka. And then Kairi Sane has made a comment on Tiffany's ring gear and says, "What are you, jellyfish?" And which was it was quite funny. Like I thought it was very very good. But I thought then they were like you were going to say she had that, and that was some sort of reference, um. But so where do you think Tiffany? Like this seems like a question I'll always be asking, but where's Tiffany go from here? Because it seems it's going to be Jade and Flair for SummerSlam. That seems to be the feud that they're building up to. Um, but Tiffany, I would assume, now she's missed WrestleMania. What if she misses SummerSlam as well?
Mm.
I wouldn't say
Well,
she will, being a champ and considering it's a two-night show, but who's her feud
but
with from
also it's
here?
in Minnesota, which
Yeah,
is
that's
her
right.
home state, of course. Um, so it would be a travesty if she missed that. I don't know. Look, I think you've sort of elucidated on it very clearly already. Uh, how they've booked her just doesn't make any sense. Like how they've booked her in 2026 versus 2025 doesn't make any sense. She only lost two matches in singles competition in 2025. One was against Stephanie Becker for the Crown Jewel Championship, and the other was against Jade Cargill in December when she dropped the belt. And she's went from that to coming back, and this
Being
was her
pinned by
first.
BFAB.
And what's that?
And being pinned by BFAB, like,
And,
this is
and,
where
and
we're
now
at,
in
like.
2026, she's been pinned by BFAB. She's lost to Julia. This match at Night of Champions was her first singles match, PLE of 2026,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So I don't know. Obviously, look at as far as I'm concerned, I think she's no she this girl could be the face of the women's division. Like probably should be. Like she's 26, 27 years old. Um, she's superb. Like sometimes as well we forget. Like I think she only started training something like 5 years ago.
Hmm. Probably
Like
less
this
than
is
that, to be honest.
this is a meteoric rise. So I don't know what's happened. I hope they see the value in it that they should. Um, the only positive out of any of this is that I'm glad that her and Chelsea seem to be now fully aligning with each other. And as you know, because this is something I'm always sort of narking on about, I'm glad that they were sort of color coding in Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
with their gear and stuff. I love that whenever allies are sort of color coded like so. If they're going to put them as a tag team, you could see Tiffany potentially drop the United States belt,
Mm.
maybe to Blake Monroe in a while. After she's finished with Julia, I don't know where they see her. Um, Maybe the best thing for her would be, and I know you hate an open challenge, but maybe the best thing for her is to
Mm.
be that sort of fighting champion, like the women's world title. They can keep the long term storyline, and they could just have Tiffany go out there and have open challenges for the United States Championship and put on superb matches. Because to be honest, at this stage, like this girl could have a great match with a plastic bag, like.
But they obviously like eventually there's going to be a feud between Tiffany and Chelsea. Do you see that?
I see that, but I really think it should be a slow burn.
I
Like
agree.
I think we should really, really enjoy and be able to. It should be allowed to breathe, and we should be able to really enjoy the just gold, the comedic gold of this. Because the thing is, like Tiffany's promos have improved massively as well, in the last year or so. But working with Chelsea is only going to make her better in that regard as well. Like,
And
and but potentially as well bring out a bit of humor from her as well. And I could definitely see them being like a like a bit of like the odd couple, like Chelsea being so exuberant and pleased to be with her, and Tiffany sort of being a bit standoffish, but at the same time, sort of proud to be with her. Like, um, so I think there are a lot of legs in that before they the feud, turn the feud, and whichever way they do it, whoever turns on who, I think inevitably it will be Tiffany to turn on Chelsea, but that could again there could be a lot of legs in the rivalry too.
I think it's a good dynamic between them. This is a niche reference, and only people who know will know. But there's a bit of Nelson Muntz and Martin Prince about the two, like I'll let the listeners decide who's who there. But I so it'd be interesting to see. But I
Can I
think
actually mention one last thing?
yeah, no,
I
hundred
did
percent.
apologise. There would be a rant here, and we managed to take up about 20 minutes of the show with us. But no one we said about how she's being booked as well. Did you notice that the way Michael Cole was calling her rivalry with Jade has completely changed? Remember
You've
3 weeks
mentioned this.
ago, he had this line of whenever Jade pounded her and said, Jade Cargill continues to dominate Tiffany Stratton, even though their actual singles record was
Yeah.
1-1. Did you notice on SmackDown this week and at the pay per view that Cole referenced that?
No, I
I
didn't notice it.
and we spoke. I suppose last week you were saying about Carmelo. Is he waiting for Jay? Like when
Aye,
he comes behind the curtain to say, "Stop stealing my catchphrase." If we continue that line of thought, there is something romantic to think that Tiffany's waiting, like for
aye.
Cole and being like, "Why are you just making me out to be like the bottom of the food chain? Like we've
Yeah.
beat this girl already." But it's just something I noticed that on SmackDown and the Night of Champions, Cole referenced that Tiffany had beat her at SummerSlam last year. Then Jade won at Saturday night's main event. So I don't know. Maybe the old school isn't dead, and somebody
Yeah.
else had a word and just said you can't just pretend that people don't remember things, and you can't just bury the scared. Like,
No, well, maybe that's it. Like, but it'll be interesting to see for all angles. I think it's good. From Tiffany to Jade to Charlotte, and even to a lesser extent Alexa, where things sort of evolve and move forward from there. Like, so that to me was a big talking point of SmackDown. I don't know, like, I don't have a set thing of running order here, but I do want to mention this because I'm sure once we get into the rest of the content, it might get lost. But I wanted to mention the Ray Phoenix Nathan Frazier
yeah,
match on Friday. Like, unbelievable. Like, these guys are
yeah,
superb. Like, I know, and I'll say it, I won't speak for you, but like to me, Ray Phoenix is every bit, if not better, than Penta. But this Nathan Fraser guy, like, to me, this guy could be the next Daniel Bryan. Like, I could see this guy. Now, I'll get on. I do have one little small gripe, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on in ring psychology and sequencing a match. But the thing, this guy's obviously a smaller, undersized guy. He's a cruiserweight essentially. But the thing that would give this guy real credibility when if he was to face one of the top heavyweights like an Opa Femi, or I'm trying to think like a Trick Williams, for example. This guy's lightning quick.
Mm.
This isn't something that a Daniel Bryan had, or well, to a lesser extent, you could argue that Rey Mysterio had it, and um, but Nathan Fraser's lightning quick. Like you could definitely tell a story where this guy overcomes a super heavyweight just through speed and thought of mind. Like I think he's really really good. I think what he's doing now at the minute with Axiom's fine, but I think like he needs to be given an opportunity. And his promo stuff, I'm sure, is fine. It's good. It's as good as any others. People cruiserweight in the card, I would imagine. And the only thing I did, and I know this is probably coming from the Jim Cornette school of thought, is that some of it does become a bit too choreographed. They're doing like these kip ups and some of the sequencing of moves and so on. But I think it was a really, really good match. And I think the big strength for this, and what the WWE's done really well, is its AAA stuff. I haven't really watched the product that much. Obviously, watched the Mask versus Mask between the El Grande Americanos. But this makes me want to view AAA. And the way that they're able to put these in, sort of filler matches there to entertain the audience, get the audience fired up, it definitely pulls you in. And like to me, I'm certainly watching this going, I want to watch AAA after this, if this is the quality of matches that they're putting on. But I thought it was superb. I think it needs to get a mention. And I've written here it was a great spectacle. What was your take on that?
To be honest, I'm just going to reinforce everything you just said. I agree with you wholly. Special mention, and of course, it's the thing that everyone will remember from this match was when Ray Phoenix did that sort of nearly like 619, but it was like a counter through the two ropes, and then reversed it, and then it went into the Spanish Fly off the second rope. Like it's just artistic, like it's beautiful. But I do have a question for you, because obviously this was for the cruiserweight title and all this sort of stuff. Do you think the term cruiserweight does more good than bad? Like, because obviously it gives these guys a platform to work, and you get a high-paced match of excellent quality like this. But does it then in a way compartmentalize these guys, that they're other cruiserweights? And even though weight classes shouldn't be seen as one is more superior to the other, I think the way professional wrestling has presented it, people are naturally going to think that. So people are naturally going to think the guy who's the world heavyweight champion is always going to be better than the guy who's the cruiserweight champion, even though that may not necessarily be the case. So obviously superb. I don't know the answer to this, by the way, but what would be your thoughts on just that term, the cruiserweight demarcating part of the roster for cruiserweights? And again, I haven't watched AAA, so I don't know how they do it. But do you think it brings more harm than good, or do you think it's a good platform for people to springboard from?
Well, I think this is a debate people have been having probably the last 20 or 30 years. It's a difficult one. I would say that you're 100% right. It gives them a platform, of course. But, since they've scrapped and moved away from that, this was the thing that was holding the guys like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho. This was holding them back. Like, nobody was as good as Chris Jericho in WCW. Do you know what I mean? And that's the reason then he's moved over to WWE, where there wasn't that same label, and there wasn't that ceiling placed on him, and he was able to be a star as a result of it. So I think ultimately it's good. I've been a fan of having it, but you can't just limit these guys then and not give them the opportunity to go into these. But it is difficult because naturally, you are placing someone into a box when you create these divisions. So it's very, very difficult, isn't it? Like,
And isn't one of the beauties of wrestling, the idea that you get to see these proverbial mismatches, not in terms of quality of
100%.
competitor, but in terms of weight class.
Yeah.
Because like if you go to, I don't know, like a mixed martial arts event, or you go to a boxing event, you're not going to see somebody
Yeah.
who's weighing 18 stone fighting somebody who's 11 stone.
Yeah.
So wrestling offers that wonderful narrative where then you wonder, how can this smaller guy win? Like, what's
Yeah.
his pathway to victory and all the ramifications of that? And that's very exciting for all of us. Like,
100%, and that goes back to my point about these mismatches work or can work. Sometimes it can be done. We don't want to see a Danhausen beaten just because he's popular at the minute. We don't want to see him beat like a Brock Lesnar. Like there needs to be a level of credibility and believability, and I think that's what you get with a Nathan Frazier just because of his speed and his thought of mind. So it's an interesting one. I think this is the kind of match you show someone, whether it be your mother, your brother, your sister, whoever, that says, "Why are you watching that stuff? It's fake." Do you know what I mean? Like people watch it and go, "Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive what these guys are doing." Like, do you know? And just saying, "Wow, these guys
or
are
is
high
that
talented."
you see, you're much more erudite than me. Giving people a concrete example. Mostly, whenever people say to me, "Why are you still watching professional wrestling? It's not fake." I said, "Do you watch The Walking Dead? Oh, it's great. It's the zombies aren't real. Like, they're
Aye,
fake.
aye.
Just because the outcome's predetermined doesn't mean it's fake. Like,
No,
we
that's
talked
it.
we talked last week like about the bloody that spot where LA Knight and Jimmy with the suplex on the ring apron. Like, these guys are like your Hollywood actors, but doing everything in one take. Like,
100%. Like, and I know I spoke to you earlier this weekend about Paul Heyman, and I know you
I
maybe
must check
didn't.
that out actually.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't listened, Paul Heyman does a podcast there with Chris Van Fleet, and superb. But the way he articulates how challenging what these guys are doing, and the thing is, everybody wants to see you feel like. Do you know what I mean? Everybody wants you to see you mess up, and he was making the comparisons about like say like the theatre in London on the West End or whatnot. Like it's a great production what some of these guys are doing, but they're only doing it for like I don't know 100, 200 people. Maybe I'm overestimating them numbers in the theatres too. But like we're talking about like 10, 15,000 people. Like, do you know what I mean? If not more. Like, so listen, I thought that needs to get mentioned. Really, really superb match. From SmackDown. Um, Now, other things that are standing out to me, because I don't think we just have so much content to get through. Um, but
Should
one
we
thing,
jump to the MFT stuff because
yeah,
that's
we can go into the
significant.
MFT. I
No, before we actually. No, sorry, you were going to say something there. Go on.
Yeah, no, I just want to. Aye, the MFTs will go to that or the Bloodline. We'll go into that now. Yeah, there seems to be a potential angle here, anyways, between LA Knight and Solo. So, for those who didn't watch the show, the MFTs, I wrote as the Bloodline because it may as well be the Bloodline. The MFTs broke up, which is it was decent the way they did it, but very underwhelming as well because this was a major angle I would say in WWE for the last best part of 2 years. That they were building, and obviously there was a number of releases with probably one of my favorites, JC Mateo, and that's an inside reference. A couple of other people got released too, all the Tongans and whatnot. But um, we have Tala and Tama, isn't it? It's the current Tongans that we have, isn't it?
Tala, Tama, and I'm just ready to tap out with them, to be honest.
It may as well be snap, crackle, and pop. For all I care, but it seems pretty odd the way they've dwindled that out. But Solo's going to go solo, if you pardon the pun. Uh, he helped LA Knight last week, and Jimmy, and Solo's made the plea towards LA Knight, and he's sort of not. He's turned him down. It seems that there's going to be a feud, anyways, between Solo and LA Knight. Seems like they just don't have anything now for these guys to do. I think it's good that the Tongas, whatever we're going to call them now, are out on their own. I like that Solo's on his own too. I think now's the time to put him on his own. But it feels like they're just, no, we don't got much to do with LA at the minute. We ain't got much to do with Solo, so let's build some sort of feud that we're not really going to get people invested in heading into SummerSlam. That's my reading on it. What is your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I thought the way they did it was interesting. I think it was Tala that said, we got word from the elders.
That's right, yeah.
I want to know what that looks like. Like,
Aye. A WhatsApp message, like.
you know, does this guy have these people saved on his phone as the elders?
Aye.
You know, um, and what exactly did they say? But anyway, beyond that, I actually thought the LA Knight solo segment was superb. I
Mm,
thought there was real tension whenever Solo was asking LA to sort of be friends and allies and work together. I thought the tension was building, the crowd was chanting for Solo. I think both of us, I think it's fair to say, both of us are big fans of Solo. Like, I think he's
yeah.
really charismatic and he's
He's
very, very
definitely the
good.
best Samoan, yeah.
Um, Again, he's one of those guys that maybe is a victim of, because his comedic work can be quite
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
He's a victim of that. But once again, I mentioned it last week. I just love the fact that LA Knight is being the mouthpiece for the audience. Like,
Yeah.
you know, um, he says he references Solo's theme song of "I'm taking it all,"
That's right, yeah. I actually remember that was
which
brilliant.
which was hilarious. And then Solo had sort of a very visceral response to that. But I love then the fact, again, it's funny how we talked about the lack of consistency with Alexa's treatment of Tiffany versus whenever she was trying to bring Rhea and Charlotte together. I love the consistency then of LA saying about how, if the saying to Solo, you say you hate the bloodline, but all these other guys have even more reason to hate the bloodline, yet they don't. So what reason is there for me to
Aye.
believe you? I thought that was great because we're all thinking that. Also, because again, we sort of referenced it last week. I was laughing out loud whenever LA Knight said, he said the artist formerly known as Main Event Jey Uso, but now baggage handler Jey Uso.
Aye,
Um,
that was pretty good to be fair.
and then he said about you being solo, and he said, "I've heard all this before," and then he sarcastically mimics Jay and says, "Day one us." So I just thought LA Knight was fantastic. Like why aren't they doing more with this guy? Like, he's
100%, like.
so charismatic. He's really believable with his promos. It's funny that you said you think that they're going to feud. I actually think it is going to lead to a tag team, like an
You th-
unlikely alliance. I think it's going to be the Tongans versus Solo and LA Knight. Like,
Do you know what? You've probably had more thought into it to me there, because that would make sense, and it gives them the Tongans or whatever, the Wild Samoans, gives them, as our Truth would describe them
didn't
as.
LA Knight say that too? Didn't he
Oh,
refer to
really?
somebody as White Samoans? Like,
He probably did, yeah. So, but that would probably be their initial feud before they head into something meaningful with, like a Damian Priest or Archer or something. Which I think that'd be a good feud as well. I wouldn't mind seeing that, but yeah. So it's interesting stuff. I suppose that's my issue is it's a good angle, but these guys are good. It's not good because it's a good angle. It's good because these guys are good, and they should be doing more with these two guys. That's probably where my frustration lies. I would say with the whole thing.
what would be your perfect vision in terms of best case scenario now, based
Mm,
off where we are? Like, is the best case scenario that LA and Solo go into a real blood feud for whatever reason, like, or is it that we jokingly said whenever they rehashed the bloodline that you know the benefit out of this could be, we were saying this just talking to each other one day a few weeks ago, that the benefit of this is whoever the new Cody is going to be. And
mm-hmm.
obviously Cody topples Roman, and that's superb for him. What a moment! Like, you know, I don't think necessarily the company are going to see LA Knight or Solo Sokoa as that guy.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting when Solo said that his aim now is to destroy the bloodline. And LA Knight is sort of he's a kindred spirit in terms of his aim is the exact same as that.
Hmm.
Um, I could definitely get behind, you know, you just hope they're not fed to the wolves, but I could definitely get behind LA Knight and Solo trying to sabotage the bloodline. And I don't know who else to get involved to help them with that, but I think
Hmm.
that's something that the crowd would like.
Would like
Like the crowd cheered a lot whenever Solo suggested friendship and stuff. So I don't know what they do, but what like for you, what's the best case scenario here for these guys?
I probably haven't thought about it, and I'm not nowhere near as talented as you when it comes to analyzing this stuff. But I just think from what's initially popped into my head is like these guys, if they did decide to feud them somewhere down the line, because I think ultimately, even if they did partner somewhere down the line, there is a feud. Like one, I think would be gold, but two, these guys could elevate a belt.
Mm.
Like, am I right in saying Dominic Mysterio is he the Intercontinental Champion? Who's Intercontinental Champion?
Yes, yeah.
Right. So if you strip that away from him, I don't know why it happens, but to me, the Intercontinental title, it's not really. There's nothing going on there at the minute, but these two guys could really elevate that belt. Like a feud with them would really like. I think people would be invested. Like a real fierce rivalry, would be good, and I think that'd be a good spot for both in that sort of intercontinental scene. But I think the way you've laid it out there and booked it is probably the ideal thing of what could happen. But I just say I think like these guys aren't being utilized as much as they should be. That would kind of be my 2 cents on it.
Mm.
So yeah,
No problem.
aye. So there we are with it. Now I wanted the next thing I had noted down was with just a quick one. I don't know how much you want to spend on it, but we've spoke previously about the stuff, and I was reading some stuff online. I think it's a good point. So I think it's safe to say we're both not really invested in Paige and Brie Bella. It's just not great. Obviously, Paige is going to get the win, um, being a hometown favourite. Let's just say that.
But
Which
did it not just sorry to cut you off, but did it not used to be like an old like a bit of a cliche in wrestling circles that when you were in your hometown you would always lose like
lose, yeah. But they seem to flip the script on that one. Now, to be fair, we saw Finn Balor lose to CM Punk. But,
yeah
like, we have Paige defeating JC Jane.
yeah
Now, when these girls came in, Fatal Attraction, isn't it? Is what they're
fatal
called?
influence like
Fatal Influence. Who's Fatal Attraction? Is that a movie?
fatal fatal attraction's a movie
Is
with
it?
Michael Douglas.
Aye, I think so, aye. Well, anyways, slip of the tongue, Fatal Influence. Like, the way they were booked at the start was really good. Like, a real force within the company who look like they're going to take over, and that has fizzled out quicker than you can say Fatal Influence or Fatal Attraction. What's going on here? Like how's
For
Paige
me
beating these girls? Like,
for me it's like
this is
fate
madness.
it's like fatal TV time. Like,
Aye,
it's funny if like last week we spoke about the amount of or it might have been 2 weeks ago when we were speaking. We spoke about the amount of backstage segments. And we were saying, and I suppose we sort of deviated from each other because you were saying like, are these really necessary? For me, at this stage, fatal influence need more time on the mic rather than matches if they're going to lose.
yeah,
Because the thing is, if you've been following NXT, and again, I have to admit, like I'm such a generic wrestling fan. Like I follow Raw, I follow SmackDown every so often to drop into
aye.
NXT. Don't really follow AAA. No, I'm not proud of that. I should, but
AW.
that's just the reality. However, if you haven't been following NXT, you don't know much about these girls. Like,
Mm-hmm.
other than the fact that JC Jane had this enormous reign as the NXT Women's Champion, I believe. But they need to build that credibility all over again for the main roster audience. Like people like me that you maybe used to watch NXT but don't watch them anymore. And these guys can't be taking losses. And on two different sort of planes. Firstly, being I do appreciate their heels so they can take losses better than faces. But firstly, if they're going to take a loss, you can't have the leader of the group take the
Yeah.
loss. Have Alan Henley or Laney Reid take the loss. You can't have JC Jane as your leader take the loss. That's two losses in a row now for Fatal Influence. And then secondly, if these guys got time on the mic, they could articulate what Fatal Influence means.
Yeah.
Like they've got some time on the mic, but it's been so short. They haven't been fully able, in my opinion, to really make an audience that's completely unaware of them know what Fatal Influence means. And
Yeah.
in a sense, it's the same thing that Julia is suffering from. Like,
Yeah.
what does the Beautiful Madness mean? Like,
Hmm.
that's a moniker for her, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
You know, Blake Monroe's been given this thing, the glamour. What does that mean? You know, although in fairness, she's had so many vignettes, I just think you're 100% right. They shouldn't be booking JC Jane to lose to Paige. But secondly, rather than having these girls lose at matches, they should be out in the ring delivering a promo.
Yeah.
Not like a backstage promo that's setting up a match for later on in the night. Give them 5 or 6 minutes,
Hmm.
you know, out in the ring and articulating what their aims are, what Fatal Influence is, what it means, and giving us a lowdown on, you know, what is JC James' big strength? What is Laney Reid's big strength? What's Fallon Henley's big strength? I know it's maybe unfair to compare them to this, but think back to Evolution.
Hmm.
Triple H very clearly articulates here's the past of wrestling, the greatest guy of the past, the present, and here's the future. And
Yeah.
here's the animal, Batista, he's the powerhouse or whatever. You know, Randy Orton's the blue blood or whatever, like, wrestling royalty. And again, I don't mean this as an insult to any of the talent involved because I think you can tell when they're in the ring, like these three women are such slick workers, like,
Yeah.
but you know, like, can you tell me one thing about JC Jane, Fallon Henley, or Laney Reid, like, with the way they've been booked since they've come in? One thing
No.
about their characters?
Nothing. Like they've in the last several weeks they've been given little to no time. I think they just hit the ground running at the start. Like, and there's another thing too. Like, the fact that it's essentially a 3v2 this segment, this match,
Yeah,
and they've not taken advantage of that. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's just you've laid it out there perfectly, and I can only echo what you said. But we don't get an insight, and that sort of leads us into we can touch break briefly because I do want to mention this as well. So this was what I thought was Black Monroe's TV debut, which is not correct because you had mentioned in the last episode there was a segment that she did with Chelsea, I believe,
mm.
which was on the 22nd of May, interestingly. And then we went back to more vignettes of Coming Soon. Like, what was that about? Like, but obviously she's been booked into an angle now with Julia, which is probably a good idea in a sense that she's getting a good initial run. Julia, I think's very good in the ring. I'm not sure what the motivation is for Black Monroe going after Julia, but yeah, I just think there's a lot of stuff that seems nonsensical in terms of those two. Well, not so much the Blake and Julia. I think it's still early days for that. But what they're doing with fatal influence, I just had to think there.
You were
Uh,
about to say it again,
I
yeah.
nearly said it again, but
Like maybe I'm talking nonsense, but do you not think rather than a 5 to 6 minute match, it would nearly be better for that group to have 2 3 minute promo segments out in the
yeah,
ring over 2 weeks to really articulate and develop their character. And it's not, I don't mean that in the sense that their characters are shallow, but we as the audience need to learn about them. At the minute, what we're learning about Fatal Influence is by virtue of the commentators. Like,
yeah,
I wanna see, just like they did when they debuted. They debuted, as you said, really effectively. I want to see JC James standing there in the middle of the ring articulating why this group is going to take over. Like, I want her to tell me why we should be absolutely petrified of her, why we should be, I don't know, so wary of the smarts of Lainey Reid or whatever, if that's going to be her unique selling point, and why we need to be, how we're going to have our eyes popping out of our head because of the athleticism of Fallon Henley or whatever it might be. Like, I just think that's what they need because, unfortunately, I don't think they're getting the rub of the green. Like,
No, definitely not. And what does she come out and say now? Like, do you know what I mean? Does she call a promo next week on SmackDown and say, listen, I know what you saw last week, but that's not who we are, and how do they get the audience back invested in these girls? Like, it's
I,
difficult.
I think that the next thing they need to do is they need to. I don't know if it's going to be a trifecta thing where I think obviously Paige faced JC this week. I forget what the match was last week, but it was another one of the Fatal Influence members. Is it the third one next week? And they have to win, or I don't know. I would love to see like the next time Bray and Paige are in a tag match, have
Hmm.
Fatal Influence cost them the belts. Like,
Yeah. Mm,
they might not even be involved, but there's something that's significant that they can do, and then you can go into a feud with that. I don't know. But you brought it up. What did you make of Blake Monroe's in ring debut? We'll say because of course she had that
yeah.
backstage segment.
Um. Fine.
Are you excited for the glamour?
I guess. Like, I'm not sure. Well, that's my thing. Again, I often have blind spots to this stuff, but obviously she's came out and attacked Julia. Like, what is the angle here? Obviously we'll probably find out next week why or whatever, but it just seemed very peculiar. Like, I don't know. Is this? I think she needs that opportunity now to cut a promo to see where we go from here. But
And where does Kiana James go from this? Like, she's lost here.
exactly,
If you're
yeah.
if you're going to have this, would it have been more sensible to maybe have had, you know, Blake Monroe help Kiana beat
Hmm.
Julia? Because then Julia takes the loss without it really impacting her credibility because there's been outside interference. And then because at the minute now, unless there's long term planning with Kiana, she's lost. And like if Julia's going under foot with Blake Monroe, what are we to think of Kiana James, particularly when you consider how great she's been in recent months, like, and
Yeah.
albeit the limited time she's had.
No, 100%. Like, that'd probably be a good way to do it, or a better way to have done it. But I don't know. I just don't know where they go from here.
No,
Um,
no, just one thing. Is there anything you have to say about the match? There's two things. Well, there's a few things that I have written down, but do you have anything to say about the actual match itself between Julia and Kiana James?
no, I've nothing here. I must admit, like my interest was passing on this one. But
Yeah.
what sort of stood out to you in it?
I thought, first of all, I loved the opening. As soon as the bell rang, they went straight at each other, like literally running straight at each other and pounding each other. Which again, considering Kiana James was supposed to have been Julia's sort of business associate and stuff, the sort of personal nature of the rivalry, it makes complete sense. It should start that way rather than starting in holds and stuff. It makes more sense
Mhm.
for it to start just with ground and pound and throwing punches and stuff. Um, but the other two things that I noticed was Kiana James wears a knee brace on her
Yeah,
right
that's
knee.
right.
Is there a reason for that? Like,
She had an ACL rupture. Probably, yeah, over whenever leading into her debut. Um,
oh right,
when
okay,
so
right, okay. Well, that makes sense. Um, and then the second thing is, did you notice at one point Kiana actually shouts at the referee saying she has my hair before the referee breaks it up?
No, I didn't see that. No.
Like it's sort of like whenever I rant, like whenever the referee's counting and somebody's shoulders are clearly off the mat, like
Yeah,
it's like you shouldn't have to have your heel shouting she has my hair before the referee,
intervenes.
decides to break it up, like. But yeah, I hope they've got something planned for them. honor, and you're probably going to go into this anyway, but honorable mention of the night to the Mrs. Robot Walk. What
Oh
an
yeah, of course. Like this Danhausen stuff's just. I know we'll probably talk about this every week for the next several weeks, saying it's fantastic, it's unbelievable. But I just think like what Kit and I nearly called him Ms. Wilson, but what Kit Wilson and the Miz is doing, superb. Like really, really good. Um, and I'll tell you this: see this whole Danhausen. Like if you were a superstar and someone had approached you and says, "Listen, we're not sure what to do with you at the minute, but we're thinking about throwing you into a Danhausen segment." You're jumping at this with two hands, like, because this is elevating everybody that's involved. Even Los Garzos, you know, they're being elevated from it. Matt Cardona is being elevated from it. Just a shout out to Matt Cardona's sunbed, like, because the contrast, like Danhausen's not even a pale guy, like this isn't. He's just like, you know, somebody of a, I would say, a normal complexion for a Caucasian man, and Matt Cardona is just the contrast, like, is just oh my days. But you know, I think it was all really really good and so entertaining, and even the stuff. What I really love what they've done with Danhausen is he's obviously got these supernatural powers, but the production value, just when you compare it to what Undertaker had, with the production value, is so crisp and superb and like so like wow, like impressive, eye bulging. I think something you would describe it as, but like you know, it's basically like Danhausen puts the curse on whatever member of Los Garzos it was, and the wee small like you know poof of uh
Yeah.
pyro goes off, and it's just it's so superb. Like
This is sort of like, the magician that shows up for your kid's birthday, like,
yeah, a hundred
you know.
percent. Like
But but it's fantastic. Like, it's honestly God, it's so entertaining. And did you notice that? But with the Miz walked under the steps, and
oh,
Dan
that's right.
Housen had
Yeah,
a
yeah.
helmet, and then when he went under the ring, he kept walking under the rope.
It's just so entertaining. Like and I
And
don't know.
then
Like
honorable mention again to Corey Graves for the quote, Danhausen has lobotomized two of our top stars.
Corey Graves, I will speak about him later because I think he was very good in Night of Champions too. But he's a really I really like him as a commentator. Like, but I just wanted to mention the stuff with Matt Cardona. Am I right in saying like so he was obviously shocked last week, correct? And
Yeah.
he's made a reference, hasn't he, to feeling a bit odd
Yeah.
that he was shocked, but it doesn't seem to have fully had the same impact that it's had on the other superstars. Like, what's that about? Like, I feel like it's some sort of there's something with Zack Ryder that's going to come in here. Like,
You mentioned this last week, didn't you? That you said,
hmm,
what we're going to see here is Matt Cardona is going to turn into Zack Ryder. Like.
that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know. Like, what do you see with that? Why? What? Like, they're obviously foreshadowing something. I'm assuming here.
I think he referenced, didn't he, something this week about the Woo as well,
Hmm.
and something. So no, I think that's probably coming. Um, in a way, I sort of feel sorry for Matt Cardona because
100%.
obviously it's one of those things you don't know how the negotiations went on or how the negotiations went down between the two parties whenever they were speaking about the contract and what they have planned. But like they really haven't done much for this guy since they signed him. Like,
The
and
analogy I wrote down.
I feel
Sorry, go
sorry
ahead.
for him. Like,
Well,
no,
the
go on.
analogy I wrote down. This is like James Trafford at Man City. Like that's exactly like Matt Cardona is James Trafford. Like he's made the return. He's probably thought this is it. Like this is my opportunity. Like, and
You've
then they're
sold the
like,
dream. Like,
and then blooming Trick
Donnarumma.
Trick Williams, aka Donnarumma, has entered and taken any opportunity that he ever thought he was going to get. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of the way I would see it. Like,
On
but
a side note, like, do you think James Trafford is leaving Man City this year?
I think so. It's interesting. I heard a Liverpool fan making a big case for them to sign him. I don't think he's quite at. Like, I don't think that'd be a great move, Liverpool. I could see him going to Chelsea. Like, I think Chelsea would be a superb move for him. But I think he's a good keeper. He just needs that opportunity. Could go to Spurs. Newcastle are a team that have been talking about him too for a while. So I don't think it was short of suitors by any means. But yeah, I don't think Matt Cardona, like, he's probably not got the same, I don't know, what's an idiom I'm trying to use here? He's not got as much life left in him, does he? Like, you know.
Mm.
So it's kind of the next year or two's make or break for him. And it would be a real shame if we see a year from now this guy's been released. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities either.
Mm. No, I'm just in terms of looking at what else is on the show. I know we had the Sami segment where he was talking to Johnny Gargano again. Um,
But
Jade demands the match with Chelsea and stuff. Um, there's one or two things I just have on the Jade Chelsea match, but anything else that you have going on? You have the fun segment as well. Um,
I
anything you have
completely
to
missed
mention
that
in any
out.
of these? Like?
Well, the only thing I want to touch on, and I can't remember if the segment was on SmackDown or Night of Champions, but you know that when Sammy, he's there's like this light bulb moment he's had. Do you remember watching this where he's like, "Oh my gosh, like I can redeem
Yeah,
myself."
yeah.
I don't know whatever it was about it. Again, I don't know if it was SmackDown or Night of Champions. I was pulled in like he pulled me into, you know, like the gimmick. I just thought the way he just his facials, the idea that this guy, it was like this change of belief. Obviously, there's like this little bit of self doubt that's held him back his entire career, and the way he delivered it, I don't know why, but I was like, right, I'm invested in this guy now. I don't know what it
Mm.
was about it, and I can't. It's nothing tangible, as I've heard you say, that I can put my finger on. But I just was like, right, I don't know. I'm invested in this guy now, like, you know.
Mm.
And I know we didn't even get an opportunity to talk about Truck Williams and Yachty and Ricky and stuff, but obviously there's a lot of foreshadowing here for their match, which we can sort of get into later on too. So yeah, that's probably my only other thoughts. The Finn stuff. What was the Finn stuff again? He had an interaction with.
With Tama Tonga referencing their past,
Yeah,
obviously in Japan, I believe. Uh, and Tama said about Nakamura was also in his past, so I don't know if that's setting up like a Finn Nakamura versus Tama and Tava thing, but it was very short. Like,
yeah. So probably just more
uh,
foreshadowing, for down the line.
yeah. Pardon to the listeners that have managed to stick with us this long and have me bloody coming back to the Tiffany Stratton thing again.
Oh, that's
But
right. The Jade.
Chelsea and Jade, the thing that I thought about this is why didn't Tiffany intervene sooner? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I sort of naturally thought that the Tiffany was gonna cost Jade the match.
Yeah,
Like Jade managed to hit Jaded on Chelsea
yeah,
and pin her 1, 2, 3, um, and then she hit Tiffany with Jaded as well. So like twice she's been hit like this on this show. On a side, like because I've said enough about it, but just as a bit of humor, did you notice this mock shooting action that Jade was doing with Tiffany
that's
over
right.
the
Yeah,
line?
yeah, yeah.
I was like, this looks more like a pea shooter, like
Uh,
rather than like it's supposed to look like obviously a rifle or something. It looked like she was doing a mock pea shooter whenever you were like 10 years old or something. Thought that was pretty funny, like.
this is a small note too. Do you know what I hate is when like Jade Jade's obviously known for ring gear, and what I love about her is she's changing it up. Her look is just adapting and evolving and constantly changing. But you know when she's in the opening sort of segment where she's intervened in the B-Fab and Michin match, and she's wearing her gear, and then she's got attacked by Chelsea and whatnot. Like the fact that, to me, that's a clear signal that she'll have a match later on by the fact she's wearing her ring gear. You know, I would rather see her just in normal gear and then change into her ring gear. Like that's like a war paint thing. It's something small, but to me, like I don't really like. I've watched that and I'm like, all right, she'll have a match later on because she's wearing her ring gear.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want to know that she has a match later on before, but obviously, I don't know. That's a small thing that is just stood out.
What's your take on matches being made on the night of? Like,
Um, I think that it can be good when done right, but there's a lot of times they don't deliver it right. You know, when that's our main event tonight is, and like you're telling me they went into the show without knowing their main event. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind if it's a match later in the card and, you know, we're going to fit that in, but if our main event tonight is Jade versus Chelsea Green, I'm like, well, that should be pre-planned. Because what do you mean you don't know what our main event is? Do you mean that can be my take on it? What's yours?
no, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious to know your take on it. Like, that makes sense. Just the only other thing I have on SmackDown. In fairness, like there are tons of other things we could talk about, but just for the sake of time, I suppose we have to cut some stuff out. It was interesting, you know, there were 6 matches on the card, and 4 of them were women's matches.
Interesting.
Interesting. It's interesting because that's something that doesn't even warrant mentioning in a way. Like, and the reason I'm mentioning it is to sort of reinforce that we're sort of just at that stage now. We talked about it a few months ago that sort of the hottest thing on the TV in terms of content a few weeks ago and months ago was like the women's tag division.
That's right. Yeah,
So
it was really
shows
good.
you shows you how deep the roster is. Like,
But do you think they've done that because they're limited to what they can do in Saudi Arabia?
well, I have a point on that when we get to Saudi Arabia, but
Okay.
so I'll leave it to then. Like,
Right. So final thing before we get into Night of Champions. So apparently, obviously, it's been well documented that Saudi Arabia is going to be the venue for WrestleMania next year. So what will that be? 43, 44?
40,
3, is
yeah,
it?
yeah, 3, I think.
43. So they reckon that the go home show for that WrestleMania will be in London, and this was essentially a trial run before that, which I thought was interesting. So the rumours are that it's going to be a similar setup to what they've done with Night of Champions. Have a bit of a European tour, have the final show in London, and then go straight into WrestleMania from there.
Do we get an Irish show?
Hopefully. I don't know how hopeful I am, but why not? Like, maybe we're the guys who bring it to the Northwest, like, do you know? Northwest SmackDown. Who knows? But no, I just thought that was an interesting thing to make note of. So this was essentially a trial run for WrestleMania next year in that regard, and it would explain quite a bit. That was also the final point. That's the final 3-hour SmackDown that we'll have of 2026. It's going back to a 2-hour format. So that's
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that's good. Because SmackDown has been a bit hit or miss in terms of shows, and hopefully it'll offer a little bit more consistency. But I think then, on the other hand, as a fan, sometimes like if I was a fan paying for a show, and we know ourselves how dear these shows are, I want the 3-hour taping. when I'm going to watch that if I'm paying money for it. Do you know? But I'm sure they'll make that up with filling in dark matches or Saturday night main events or things like that too. You know. So, what's your thoughts?
Um, Probably contrary to most people, I sort of like the 3 hours.
Do you?
Um,
Yeah,
I think SmackDown has a different vibe to Raw. Like it
it
always
does.
has. Um, and like we've sort of pointed to some of the flaws in terms of the lack of time that people like Fatal Influence have had, people like Julie have had to fully develop her character. Um, with that dropping to 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
really how much time are these people going to have? Like,
Uh,
because like realistically, your opening segment could be 15 to 20 minutes. Like
yeah.
your main event between the entrances and everything else, 15 to 20 minutes. So that's 40 minutes of your show gone already. So you have an hour and 20 minutes, few backstage segments. So how many additional matches or time for people to develop their characters are going to be? So I don't know. I sort of like the 3 hours, but you know, well, it could be great. Like I'm sure Danhausen will still get in there.
Aye, well, that's for sure. Like, aye, he'll. Do you want? He should have an hour dedicated himself for his own show just to do skits, like you know.
Did
But
you notice during the match, by the way, that after he did a few consecutive clotheslines, the guys in the corner, that he like
he
collapsed on
gassed
his
out,
knees?
and that was so good, like wasn't it? And the fact then he starts powering up again. This guy's a good operator. Like that's one thing you cannot take away from him. He is a very, very good operator, if nothing else. He's superb. He's superb. So, listen, I suppose this is the first time we're doing back-to-back shows, so this will be our challenge. But we're going into Night of Champions, and to me, very, very good pay-per-view. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of it now, on our notes. But we started off. We had the final of the King of the Ring. We had Oba Femi versus Jey Uso. Oba Femi went over, which I believe is the right decision. Um, and it was a good match. A good match. I'll be honest, I think Oba should have just squashed this guy. Like, I thought this should have been a serious statement of intent. And he was like, no, I am the king. And this guy isn't fit to lace my boots. But I know things can't work out like that. I know Jay's, got enough credibility, undeserved credibility that he probably deserves to be treated with a little bit of respect. But I don't know. I just think Obafemi should be booked to the moon as an unstoppable force. But I thought it was a good match. Generally a good match. Good way to start the show. And I think right decision. I had fears and doubts of what they were going to do. Thought Brock was going to come in, but it looks like it's going to be set up for Oba versus Roman Reigns. That looks like what they're going for moving forward. And I think Oba should win that as well. And to be honest, what I would love to see is Oba starts his own stable, and he has his own, MFT bloodline, or at least has something. It'd be great, like if Heyman's managing this guy, like, or something like. But I would like to see him get his own stable and a couple of henchmen as well. Not that he necessarily needs it by any means, but yeah. What was your thoughts on, anyways, without me rambling off into some point that is, I don't know, doesn't relate. Nonsensical is the word I'm using today.
No, that's not at all. Um, Interesting that this was the 25th King of the Ring to be crowned.
Right, interesting.
That's obviously a quiz question that's going to come up. Like, who was the 25th King of the Ring? Uh,
That's incredible when you think about it, isn't it?
isn't it? To be honest, I agree with you. It doesn't make sense how competitive this match was
Yeah.
when you compare it to like how Oba like crushed Brock. Now I know then Brock got his win back, and I think that was the right decision too. But when you consider the way Oba dealt with Brock in his first match,
WrestleMania.
it sort of makes perfect sense for him to do the same thing to Jey Uso.
Yeah.
Because is what you're saying that maybe Brock Lesnar took him lightly and that's why Oba got the win? Or are you saying that Jey Uso has more credibility than Brock Lesnar? I don't know. It doesn't make sense for it to be this credible because, and again, this is no, it's not a personal attack in any way on Jey Uso, but
I'll make it personally.
like this this guy's just gonna go back to being like Roman Reigns and the Codell Knight baggage handler. Like, you
Exactly.
know, it's not like Jey Uso is gonna be flirting around with the main event. Like, so
No.
if Oba crushes him, it doesn't really do Jay any harm. Like,
Yeah.
really, you know. Um, so yeah. The only other thing is, and this is probably me being a bad fan, not having done my research. They mentioned in commentary that Oba was a college shot put athlete, which I
Yeah.
never knew. That's
That's
interesting.
right. Yeah. That's he was, I suppose, the was it the NIL Next in Line program? Came over from Nigeria and was a serious shot put competitor. I can't remember where we went to college, but I know that they, from what I've heard and what I've seen, uh, he basically was in the weight room doing his training or whatever for the shot put, and like some of the weights that he was pushing was just ridiculous. Like, this is a guy who didn't really know what he was doing, but obviously had this raw natural strength. And the American football team. So it says here that he went to Middle Tennessee State, and then he went to the University of Alabama. So I think it was the University of Alabama um, made a plea to get him on their football program, because they were just so unbelievably impressed by him. Um, and they have a serious football program there. But obviously his heart was in shot put. But this guy could comfortably be in the NFL. Like, do you know what I mean? 6'6", 310 pounds, serious operator. But yeah, so don't know why he never got the Olympics, but has a degree in visual arts, which is interesting.
Yeah,
So there you have it. Interesting guy. Probably very. I can imagine him being very smart, like.
yeah.
So, but yeah, and he's what I always think is funny. He's like a month older than me, so um, crazy. Like, this guy's a man. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think you've made some good points there. I think, like, yeah, Jade. I don't know. I just, the less I probably say about Jay, the better. Like, otherwise, he's completely I don't know, blacklisting us from any potential future episodes. But I think it was a good way to start the show. And that takes us into the Queen of the Ring.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we obviously had Danhausen at the start of that match, and then we go into Iyo Sky versus Liv Morgan, which I think was a superb match. Am I right in saying Danhausen, did he put a curse on Liv?
Yeah, he put a curse on Liv at the start. Well, he came out and then Liv came out to chastise him for owing the Judgment Day money,
Yeah,
and then he cursed her. Like,
yeah. So that's suppose I don't know. Do you think that's something they continue moving forward? Like, is on Raw, is she having a pop at him? That's the reason why I lost the Queen of the Rings because of you, or
well,
what do
the
you
thing
think?
is this, right? Like, we've spoken ad nauseum about how much we love Danhausen. I actually didn't like this because it ruined
Mm.
the ending for me. Like, as soon
Yeah,
as he cursed her, I was
you
I
know
was
what's
like
going
Liv
on.
losing. Like,
Mm.
um, and
Because
I suppose
she
we
has to lose, doesn't she? Because if she wins that match, it discredits anything Danhausen does from there on
I
in.
the curse. I don't think nobody's got away from the curse. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't think he really needed that in the PLE, to be honest,
Mm.
unless it's leading into something as you say on Raw. Um, I'm trying to think of how to word
Careful
this
here.
here.
Careful.
Like, first of all, big up to Liv's gear. You notice the skeletons and stuff,
Yeah,
obviously
that's right.
reference to Dominic. Like, um, she's really living this gimmick, isn't she? Not that I
Oh,
shouldn't say living the
100%.
gimmick because she's on TV and she has to, but like she's really going all in on the gimmick, isn't
Mm,
she? Like, um,
absolutely.
fair play to her. Like, did you notice anything about her entrance? Like, no,
No, was it very different to what she usually does?
I would say so. Like,
Bit more
people can read between
conservative,
the people can read between the lines in terms of what that means. I thought her entrance was very different to
her
her
usual.
normal entrance. Like, you know,
Okay. Do you know what? We might as well get into that, but like this crowd, particularly for the women's matches, were as flat as a pancake. Like,
that this one, right? I don't know if it's because it was early enough. I thought it was still purr, but there was some sound. I don't know about you. I thought the Tiffany Jade match was like a pin drop. Like, you heard
oh, it
nothing. Like,
was. That's
or
the one I've made notes for. It was like, because I remember watching it, and just being, thinking, this is quiet. Like, this is like this is bad. It probably wasn't as bad for Iyo and Liv. Maybe it's because Iyo had a lot of crowd interaction there, and it felt a little bit different. But no, definitely for the Tiffany and Jade match, it just felt really, really flat.
and this brings up the question, right? Because it's a potential landmine, but let's just step on it anyway. Like, you know, like, do you think WWE are doing too many shows in Saudi Arabia? And like,
one Hundred
I'm
percent.
completely like we're completely disregarding anything no political or anything like that. Like, this is just a purely like um purely in as a result of the experience you get as a fan watching the event.
One Hundred
Like, do you
percent.
think this is the law of dimension returns? Like, do you think we've reached that point?
And again, without veering off into the political side of it, but let's just call it for what it is. Like, there's a reason why they're not having WrestleMania, and I know, like, they talk about Japanese wrestling fans being very modest and very conservative, in terms of engagement. And it's meant to be more like a theater, for example. Like, imagine no one has an issue if they have a WrestleMania in the Allianz Arena. If they host a WrestleMania, no one's complaining. The crowd are electric for it. If they have a WrestleMania in San Siro, the crowd's electric for it. If they have a WrestleMania in Wembley, the crowd's electric for it. Might as well mention this too. If they have a WrestleMania in Croke Park, the crowd is electric.
If they had
It
one in Mexico City,
in
if you
Mexico
know,
City, like the
if they had
crowd.
one in Perth, Australia,
It's you're getting a different interaction. This is going to look bad. Like, WrestleMania is going to look bad just from a simple crowd standpoint. It's going to be flat, the atmosphere. It's just going to be a weird dynamic. It's a weird crowd interaction. It's a weird response. Because I do think the crowd were probably very good for many of the matches. For example, Oba versus Jay. I would say the crowd were positive enough.
Sami Zayn for sure. Like,
Sami Zayn, electric. Like, some of that stuff, if we're talking about vignettes or video montages, and that will be their selling point, is some of the images you're getting off that Sami Zayn one are superb. They're fantastic. They're really, really good.
yeah.
But there's not that consistency. I need a consistency throughout the show for it to work. And I think that's something's going to need to be addressed. Now, I would assume a more international audience will come in, um, come
Wasn't
WrestleMania. I could imagine European fans making the pilgrimage, and that's what you get. But it's going to be interesting. Like, I don't know.
wasn't there one event there they did in Saudi Arabia? I can't remember which one in the last like year or whatever.
Yeah.
And you remember we were like texting each other at the time, during like the first 30 minutes of the show, they were like half the
It was
stadium was
empty.
empty.
It was empty. It was the Royal Rumble.
Um,
It
and
was
here's
empty.
the thing as well: it's not actually necessarily. It's like it's just too much. Know if they
Mm,
were doing like
a year.
one a
Like
year,
Crown Jewel.
like nobody's having an issue really.
They
But
do Crown Jewel every year, no issue. But now it's it's too many. But I don't mind that if there's the consistency. You know, if they're doing three pay-per-views
like
a year in Europe or two in South America, and they've dedicated one in Australia every year, and an Asian one, whether that be somewhere in the Indian subcontinent or um, between maybe Japan or something. But it's just too many, like as you say, you know, far, far too many.
mm,
That's my 2 cents on it, you know. So
I'm sure it's something we'll come back to because inevitably there'll probably be another one before the end of the year.
the year, 100%, like, but so yeah, as we've known from the start, Io versus Liv, very good match. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
I th-
Um,
it's
yeah,
kind of it's but well, it seems it's going to play out the way you've sort of wanted it to play out, where you know Io's got this win over Liv, and now she's coming back, and she's sort of got this newfound confidence. She's got her mojo back, and now she's coming after Liv.
how great would it be if I don't necessarily want Love to drop the belt, but how great would it be if Io won the belt and if her and Rhea kept their respective belts until Crown Jewel and they faced
Yeah,
each other? Like,
that'd be good. That'd be good because I'm not a massive fan of seeing them go again. Hence why I don't think I would like to see Io have went after Rhea now. But it would be a good it'd be a good setup going into Crown Jewel. And what do you think happens there? Is it just a 5-star match that these girls are putting on, or do we see? Because I want to see EO turn on Rhea, like I
a
really
hundred
do.
percent, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Is that her opportunity to do it? Like,
Yeah, I don't know how it plays out. I suppose Crown Jewel's in October as well, so it's a long way away, and I'm sure they're planning for it now and planning even beyond that. So I don't know how it works out, but I'm just glad to see Iyo Sky stop being like a footnote.
yeah,
Like she's fantastic. Um,
mm,
and I think both of us are huge Liv Morgan fans. Her um, is she the member of the roster, male or female? Like is she in like the top three in terms of her character work? Like
love. I would say so. Yeah.
she's superb. Like
Well, I'll say this, because I don't think this is a debatable question. Is there anybody as invested into her character on the roster besides maybe Danhausen? Got
yeah,
Liv, Danhausen, who else? Maybe Trick Williams or something like that. That's just jumping out at me. But she's very good. Like she is very very good. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And she's a good operator.
class
And
act, class act.
ah, 100%. So again, there's our Queen of the Ring, Iyo Sky, who's going to face Liv Morgan again. So I'm excited to see a part two. Um, and then we have our King of the Ring, Obafemi, who is going to face Jey Uso. Or sorry, face Jey Uso. The other Samoan faced the other guy from the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, at SummerSlam.
Did I
Okay.
completely miss that? Did he make that decision? Yeah.
No, but that's my natural inclination. Unless, does he beat Sami? And that way you're protecting Cody and Gunther? Does he face
Yeah.
Sami? And do you want to? I want to see him face Roman Reigns. It hasn't
I,
been made, I guess, but I want to see him against Roman Reigns. I don't want
it
to see
would
him
be
against
actually
Sami.
hilarious if he like beat Roman Reigns in half the amount of time it took him to beat Jey Uso.
That would be quite funny, like. But that's something they would do, like. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, we
Seth and Braun.
yeah, Seth and Braun. Which now there's a couple of things I'd be interested to hear your point. Right, my first issue was, before the match, and they start loading in the tables and chairs and kendo sticks. I don't like that. For a similar reason why you didn't like Danhausen, Curse and Liv. I already know what I'm getting from this match before it started. And I know there's good signal in there for how deep this rivalry is and how serious this is, and it's going to be a bloodbath. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I think the whole point of the cage, you kind of want to weaponize the cage. Again, maybe that's an old school train of thought, but I have to say it was a very great match.
Yeah.
Really good. Now, this is interesting because I know it's an issue you'll have. Braun kicking out of finishers, like, do you know what I mean? Like, he was kicking out of everything that was thrown on him. I think he needed the win. Like, this is a guy that it was set up for him to win the Royal Rumble. And he was obviously going main event WrestleMania. I think it's not really a fully fit Seth. So I think there wouldn't have been, I don't think there'd be anything wrong with him beating Braun, or beating Seth, Braun beating Seth. But I don't know. I think unless they want to build it that this guy's wild, he's erratic, and this behaviour's ultimately costing him and that inexperience, I think that's a saving grace.
Yeah.
But there's some really good spots, and Braun. I don't know. I thought it was interesting in line Michael Cole, I think, said, could have been Corey Graves to be fair, about, basically he was bigging up Braun and all that he's went through, and, how much respect he deserves after that showing. And I don't know, I'm not sure if I really agree with that. Like, ultimately, he still lost.
Yeah, I think it was Michael Cole, and it was something akin to, a lot of people have wondered whether this guy is ready. I can confirm after tonight he is ready, or something like that.
Is it just me, or is that doesn't make sense? Like, he lost, like, he lost the match. What can we say that, and it was the whole, remember he's done this, there was a moment near the end, obviously at the finish, he's kind of stopped.
Yeah.
Rollins has sort of paused and had second thoughts,
Mm,
and then he's kind of done a charge up,
yeah.
and then he takes the curb stomp and loses. Am I like, you have a good eye for this stuff, but to me this is like
Curb stomp off the top rope, don't forget.
off the top rope, which fair enough. I suppose that's elevating it, isn't it? To make sure he can't kick out of a super finisher, but
Super finisher.
a super finisher, I'm coining new terms here. But
Um,
I've said quite a bit there. What, like, is there anything you're thinking, nah, do you know what? Challenge me on that, because that was my take on it.
well, I think do you know the big thing for me? I think it was unintentional. Was the cut he got
Yeah, yeah.
of his eye. What great visuals! I know it
Mm.
wasn't
And it's
maybe
just,
intent. Oh, it was like
really good.
it's like remember whenever WWE used to do those old black and white um advertisements during the show of Do Not
Yeah,
Try This at
this
Home,
home. And the
and
blood.
they used to show the Austin Brett,
Yeah,
the black and white version of that.
yeah.
Um, just thought like this is a visual that could really go down in the annals, like if he had won, you know. But of course he didn't. I suppose the one question I have is where did the vision go from here? Like this group, in a sense, I feel like you have a lot to say here. I feel this group, in a sense now, like since Seth Rollins has left, has just fallen apart.
Aye, they're
Like,
pathetic.
and like in Raw, during Raw last week, I had mentioned it's good to see the Vision in the main event again. You
Mm.
know, to make these guys look as if they're being taken seriously. And then the other thing is, like, they said that Logan Paul was on Raw on Monday night, but he wasn't in Saudi Arabia on Saturday night. And they did reference that, and they referenced he's recovering from tricep surgery, and they referenced that Paul Heyman is
He couldn't
recovering
travel, wasn't it?
after the spear. But it's like, so did Logan Paul surgery? Now maybe I'm just being an idiot here. Maybe did it take place after Raw on Monday between Tuesday and Friday, or like was he okay to travel across
To
the
London.
ocean to England, but not okay to travel to Saudi Arabia? It's and then the other thing is Seth got involved in the stuff with the Street Profits so that they could win the belts. Like I thought for sure we were going to have shenanigans here. I know the whole idea of the steel cage is that it's supposed to keep everyone out, but I thought for sure the Street
Yeah.
Profits would be involved. The guys, different guys from the Vision would be involved. Like where was Austin Theory? Like,
Mm. It's a
um,
good point, like.
but I just worry where the Vision go from here. Um, But just yeah, I don't know because um, the guys there like Logan Paul's pure money. Like he's
Mm.
fantastic. Braun. Let's call it as it is. Like Braun should have beat CM Punk for the belt.
100%.
You know,
They they
like
miss they missed so bad with that. Like they missed such a trick with that. Like he should have won the belt at that time. And what's CM Punk like? Do you know what? The less I say about CM Punk, the better. But like this guy can't bench 225. Like
you were going to say something about the Vision. Like come on,
I think they're pathetic. Like I think like they've just lost anything that they had before. And I thought like it was a good angle. Like and I don't really like them rehashing stuff, but obviously people were saying this is the next evolution, this is the next evolution. You've got Braun, like this is the future. You've got Seth, the present or whatever. They've got Heyman, like they've got everybody behind them. And it all started when they brought in Bronson Reed. That's when things went downhill. No, but even like they've brought in, Logan Paul, they've brought in Austin Theory, like these are good guys, like, and it's just dwindled. Obviously, they've been unfortunate with injuries. That's been a big, big issue for them. Braun got injured, Bronson Reed got injured. It's been unfortunate, but I'm not, as you say, where do they go from now? What's pulling you in? Where does Braun Breaker go from here? I don't
my,
know.
my thing would be, and again, I and the people that are writing the show have the wide view, and they know what's coming months down the line, like, um, and we could all be proven wrong, and I hope that is the case. But like, you compare it to the Judgment Day, like even
Mm,
when Age left the Judgment Day, look
yeah,
at how everyone involved in that group has been elevated, like
yeah,
even Carlito, like even when Carlito was there and making, I don't mean even Carlito to be disrespectful, but like even though he was only there for such a short period of time, as the comedy he brought and everything, like every person involved in the Judgment Day has been elevated, like
yeah,
Damien Priest going on to win the world title and the rest. Um, and no doubt whenever this Roxanne Liv feud goes up, and Raquel, that'll be fantastic too. I just hope they haven't done irreparable damage to some of these guys because they're so young, like,
mm-hmm.
and you want to be able to hopefully build them back again because um, they're great, like.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to see, like, but hopefully, hopefully the damage isn't isn't unfixable, but. So that takes us in then to Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints, which game good match. I think it was the right decision. Right person went over. I don't think it ever
I
looked
think
like
you were looking at your notes there and missed that, whenever
what.
you were talking about the absolute.
Oh yeah, the absolute Ricky Saints. Like, uh, I think listen was Ricky Saints was probably never realistically going to win this. Um, No, I was reading this online. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. But so the end segment with Lil Yachty, which I think was superb. I think Lil Yachty's really, really good. And even, we'll get into it about the sort of the allusion to the work of Eddie Guerrero
Mm.
that was referenced. But I want to just bring up this point. So this to me is foreshadowing a match or some sort of in ring action from Lil Yachty when he was dropping the elbow on Ricky Saints. Do you think Lil Yachty dropping the elbow on Ricky Saints is damaging to Ricky Saints?
Um, do you know what? I don't think it's too damaging considering the circumstance of it, the fact that he's already been hit and the trick shot has been done and all that. Like, I think if he was doing this to like a fully fit Ricky Saints,
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. Um, it's funny. One of the things I had written down from SmackDown was like, "Is Lil Yachty now a permanent thing?"
I think
You know,
so.
I just sort of thought that he was going to be in and out. Now, I have to admit, hip hop is not my forte. Like, this guy's pretty big, isn't he? In the hip hop
He
scene, like,
was. I would say he was. I remember 2016, this guy was big, like really, really big. But I think his career's taken a real nosedive over the last 2 to 3 years. Like, um,
it's great to see him involved
a
because,
hundred
you
percent.
know, and when you look at guys like, and I know he's not Logan Paul because he's not active in the ring yet, but these guys committing whenever they could easily just sit in their mansions, like, and
Yeah.
live off the royalties of things, so it's great to see him involved. You said we'll talk about the Eddie Guerrero reference, so I won't talk about that. But one thing I noticed, did you notice that Ricky Saints came on and basically a tricolor? Like,
Oh, did he?
his jacket was green, and I think the inner stitching was orange, and then there
Okay.
was a bit of white as well. Like, so,
I give you a good chuckle. Like,
I love this guy. Like, I think he's
he's very
fantastic.
good. Very, very good. You weren't a
I,
big a fan initially, though.
no, I wasn't, and I suppose I referenced it last week. I think that the problem was that all these guys were debuting at the one time, like
Yeah.
him and Ethan Page and somebody else. Like all these guys coming up and around the same time, and I'm like, "Right, which one's which?" But
Yeah.
now that you know, he's been given time to develop who he is and all that, um, he's great. No, I have to say, I think Michael Cole's doing a great job of really promoting him.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he's calling his matches, he's saying, "I've known him a long time and he's destined for the top" and all that. Like, I do think these things matter. Like, when the
Mm-hmm.
commentators say that, and if they say it repetitively,
Yeah.
week after week, like, I think these things do matter. So I go up to Michael Cole on that, but I didn't realize, again, because I'm not an NXT buff, that Ricky Sainz is actually undefeated against Trick Williams. Like,
Interesting.
beat him in a last man standing match in
Okay.
NXT and stuff. So just by virtue of that, I would have liked to see Ricky win because I
Yeah.
do think records matter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
remember when Rhea was going against Iyo and
That's
she'd
right.
never beaten her one on one and stuff, and then Iyo won again. Like, I do think it's like the same as football. Like, it's like whenever you're with a team, they've never beaten another team away from home or whatever. Like, I do think records matter,
Yeah.
and you can tell a really good story with that. So it was, as you say, he probably never was going to get the win, but it's a pity that that undefeated record against Rick Williams has been blemished for so little payoff. Like,
No, 100%. That's a valid point. Like, and there could have been. There's a good story to be told then going into SummerSlam, isn't there?
yeah,
If he does beat him, because I don't know. We'll see again. Monday, I suppose, is kicking off what's going to be set up for SummerSlam, but it would have been a feud I would have liked to have seen. Do you think they do that going into SummerSlam? Do they continue that? You know,
um, God knows, like, because you've also got Carmelo Hayes there.
this
Remember
is
we said
right, yeah.
last week we were like, where's
Where
he
is
going to go
Carmel now?
after being, well, he's been dethroned. Like, he's no longer him. The
Yeah,
Uso is him. Like,
yeah. Evidently not him, after tonight or the Night of Champions match, but no, I think it was good. And yeah, so that leads us into the Tiffany and Jade stuff, which we've covered quite extensively on the show, so
I
I'm
think you're gonna have to edit some of this, like.
I am conscious of listeners sort of over going over old ground, like, but I think we've sort of covered that. So I'm happy enough to move on from there if you are.
Yeah, only two things I have is, you know, I've noticed that and Jade's gear was good, but did you notice on Tiffany's gear she had this like butterfly and stuff on
Butterfly
it?
eye.
It's sort of interesting that, the gear now the women are wearing when they're in Saudi are beginning to show a bit of personality, which is good.
Yeah.
Because no,
Before it
no,
was very, it was
yeah,
even more conservative
yeah, it was
than
just
now.
like,
Like,
you're wearing a black one piece of clothing, and she's wearing a red, and somebody else is wearing a green. It's nice. There's a bit of embroidery and stuff like that. Talked about how quiet the crowd is. The one thing that made me think there really was a placeholder was, that this match was only 11 minutes long. Like, I
it's
thought it
quite
was really
short,
good,
wasn't it?
but like that's like a SmackDown main event,
Yeah.
like,
No, 100%. Like, these girls need like a 20-minute match, like, don't they? Do you think
mm,
that's deliberate though, due to the context of Saudi Arabia?
there's a question. I don't know, or is it what every good film does, and you know doesn't give you all you want, but gives you enough to make you want to come back again. Like,
I don't know. I feel like has is there a conversation in the back going, listen, we've bought apples from this cart before. We know how the crowd reacts to these matches. Let's keep it short and sweet and dedicate more time to what was the main event and what
no,
was a
on that
major
then,
moment.
what was Liv and Iyo?
Their time in.
Definitely, definitely
I don't
longer. But what was their? Do you know how long it was now?
to know. Do you, if I said now it was a 20-minute match, do you think it was that long?
I don't think so. Although, let's see here.
Are you
I'll look it
timing
up.
these yourself?
Yeah,
You're good. This is like, hey, folks, this is the level of dedication we need. Like, I'm going and
there's
winning it, and Nathan here's giving me the analytics, as we would call them, the expected goals and stuff, which is great. Right.
I,
So Liv versus you. Have you got anything
uh,
for it?
I'm getting, yeah. What do we see here? Uh, 14 minutes and 55 seconds.
Let's see. I'll try and confirm this.
I'll actually tell you what's mad. I got that from Wikipedia,
14
right?
minutes. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the Tiffany Jade one, I calculated myself, but I must have included entrances because on Wikipedia, they're
It's
saying that
probably
the
less.
Tiffany Jade match was only 7 minutes and 35 seconds.
There you go. So, listen,
Leads us to the main event.
that leads us into the main event. So Sami wins. Sami wins the world title, which is huge, huge stuff.
Mm.
Um, I said earlier this redeem myself promo. I don't know why it just triggered me. It got me invested. Um, obviously it's significant too. You know, he's the first Muslim world champ, which is huge. The first in 40 years, I believe. I think the last maybe was Iron Sheik, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, but this is certainly the first face um, Muslim champ, which is good. And it was interesting. Cody took the loss. I think it's just
Mm.
a shock in general. One thing I did note it down was um, Michael Cole's headset was knocked off, and his commentary went out, and he eventually took the headset then off Corey Graves to call the rest of the match, which reminded me of a famous video of Nicole Scherzinger when she was a judge on the X Factor, taking the mic off one of the contestants so she could sing because hers wasn't working, and completely took away from the spotlight that the contestant had in the final of the X Factor. So I don't know. I wrote that down. I thought it'd be quite funny. Some people might get that reference and know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about there. But um, yeah, I was happy to be honest to see Sammy win. Really, really happy. Um, but again, shocked, shocked, certainly shocked. What was your take on it?
Yeah, great to see a genuine shock. But no, it was fantastic to see him win it. Similar to you, I thought the change in the facial expressions and stuff was superb. I do find it quite funny. Anytime they say about the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but sometimes they shorten it to the kingdom, I can just think of Kerry. It's the only thing that comes
Yeah.
to mind for me. Like, but no, it was great to see him win. I'm glad Gunther didn't take the loss. I just worry. I hope this wasn't just a cheap ending because it was in Saudi Arabia and they wanted to
Mhm.
give Sami the belt and like, is it going to be hot potato like, and is he going to just drop it at SummerSlam again? Like, which I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I hope he doesn't. Like, and they've
Well,
also mentioned Kevin Owens a few times. Like, I wonder is he
they
like
have.
going to return? Like, is this a
Yeah, it has been referenced, and from the whispers online, people are suspecting that there will be a Kevin Owens return, which will be interesting to see as well. Um, don't know, like you've raised a good point there. I think obviously he's very over in Saudi Arabia. I don't think that's debatable whatsoever. For sort of obvious reasons. So I do think there is a bit of a trial run, essentially, because I didn't think he would win it here. I thought if he was going to win it, it would be at WrestleMania. So I do think there's a bit of that going on in terms of the booking, and I wouldn't be surprised if this guy drops it. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if he drops it very quickly. Like, can you see this guy? It's New Year's, 2027. Is Sami Zayn still the champ?
no?
There's just no way. Like, do you know what I
Like,
mean?
you could if they wanted to elongate the Cody storyline, you could easily see Gunther beating Sami.
Hmm.
And then Cody, want the rematch for the belt and all that, and it's elongating the Cody Gunther feud. Like,
Well, did you see the stuff that came out um after Night of Champions?
no,
So obviously it's went around on social media pages for WWE. Basically, there's an altercation between Gunther and Nick Aldis, and there's accusations from Gunther that he's been sabotaged and that Nick Aldis is to blame for this. And there's a physical confrontation. They're both aggressive, fully broken up. Aldis explicitly told Gunther that he would see him on Friday on SmackDown. Um, so yeah, what's your take on that? I always see them say, "Oh, Nick Aldis is going to come back. He's going to come out of retirement." I don't see that happening, but something's going to happen there. As
is
a
Gunther
result.
going to be suspended for a while just to take him off TV so that then he can come back? Because the thing is, we spoke about this last week, but like, I just don't like seeing Gunther lose. Like, that's
No,
why I'm glad that he didn't
take the
take
loss.
the fall on this. Like, because Cody's beat him twice already. Like, I don't I think it does him untold damage whenever he loses. So maybe this is a way of writing him off for a while.
Mm, should be interesting. Be interesting, like, but yeah. I think then, listen, we need to talk about the visuals. That were after. It was really like it got me. I have to say when he's in the crowd and he's really emotional and it is great to see. Like this guy he is likable and whatever opinions people have of him, he just seems like a stand-up guy, like, you
Yeah.
know. And it was a beautiful moment because you can see this significantly meant a lot to him, and it's him climbing the ladder. Probably never thought he would get this opportunity. Well, he did have 10 opportunities, but the actual opportunity to win, and be the WWE champion. And I do think, like before, I think I wasn't sure what they were going with this gimmick, and he's essentially been a heel for the last couple of weeks. But I do think this has flipped him to a face. I do think people like he comes out on Monday. I think people are cheering him. You know.
I think I like the um, contention within the gimmick of like him really believing that he's a face, like,
Mm.
and my like all my ride or die Sami Zayn fans,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and him fully believing in that, like,
yeah,
um, and it's sort of like a wink and a nod to the audience because obviously there are people that have followed him all the way from the independence, so probably have been, watching him like I don't know, like 15, 20 years, like,
mm.
and there really is probably a sense of loyalty there, like this guy is my tribe, like, so um, it's great to see, and I'm just excited to see where they go with it, and excited to see where they go with Gunther as well. I just would worry, if Cody goes for a rematch, like, do you see Sami Zayn beating Cody clean again?
No, unfortunately, no.
I thought the last 4 minutes was superb. The way this
Mm.
gets built and built and built, and the pace of the match is like a play. It's like, when you're reading the fifth act of King Lear, and
Yeah,
the scenes are so short, and it's increasing the pace and the dramatic tension and everything else. The pace of the match increased, and it was counter for counter and near falls and all. I just thought the last like 4 minutes, the match itself was great, but the last 4 minutes, just wow! Like, what storytelling!
yeah. No, it was really, really good, and you know, everybody in there is a great operator. Like Gunther, we haven't spoke too much about him, but so good, like so good. His physicality, and he just looks so. It's so believable. Like this guy is just he is perfectly named as the ring general. It's such a fitting nickname because that is, we spoke and to go full circle to what we started talking about 2 hours ago. Who is, Julia? Who is Jessie Jane? Who is Blake Monroe? Who is, this new version of Matt Cardona or whatever? Like, we
Ethan
know
Page,
Ethan Page. We know who the ring general is. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think it's fitting. So, but yeah, to me, a very good show. I thought SmackDown was good. I thought Night of Champions was good. Lots to sort of be set up now for SummerSlam. Um, and I have to say, I'm looking forward to Monday as a result of all this. Because I do think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but all positive. Well, the majority positive, certainly. Um, and I think if things are done well and done right, I think SummerSlam could be a really, really good pay per view as well.
Absolutely. First two night SummerSlam as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, which is major and significant.
Or is it the first two night, or has there been a two night
I think
SummerSlam
so.
before?
I don't think last year was 2 nights. I can't remember
No, I
us.
think it was actually last year was two night SummerSlam as well.
Was it two? Aye. So, but yeah, which is, let's see. I'm sure we'll do picks
Yeah.
for SummerSlam when it
How
comes
did
to
her
it.
picks
But
go for this show? What was the?
I don't know. Do you
Well,
remember?
I'll tell you. I said Oba. I said Oba. I can't remember who I said between Love and Iyo. I said Braun. I said Trick. Um, I said Tiffany, and I said Gunther.
Okay. I would need. I can't even remember mine off the top of my head, but I definitely didn't have Sammy winning. I think I picked Jade. To be fair, I
You
think I
did,
did pick
yeah.
Jade.
I think both of us went with our hearts.
I think I went with Braun. I think I remember going with Braun. Maybe.
Mm.
I
I
can't
think we
remember.
might have both went for love.
Mm, we could have done, yeah. But yeah, so August now. We're building up to August. But
By the
yeah,
way, this show's just slightly longer than what SmackDown will be next week. So
I know.
congratulations to
There we
everyone if
go.
you've reached the end of it. Like,
I know, 100%. You deserve some sort of Blue Peter badge. But how did you find that? That was the longest show I've ever done. That was a challenge, I have to say.
I have to say, I really enjoyed it.
It was good. I
Um,
definitely enjoyed it.
no, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that. You see, I thought there was a lot to talk about.
There
Like
was,
I thought a
absolutely.
lot happened on SmackDown, and then the show and Sammy and all that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I know it was good. So hopefully now we'll keep consistent as best we can with these. And again, folks, keep an eye out for any content over the summer. And again, thank you to all those new subscribers and those people that viewed our last video and given us the comments and the interactions. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And until next time, that's another episode of Face and Friel from myself and Nathan.
Yep. See you later, everyone, and thank you for your time. Really do appreciate it.
Perfect.